Alright, y'all, this is how I make sourdough.
Okay, so I double the recipe. I make 2 loaves, or you could even make a loaf and some rolls or whatever. But I use, if you're doubling it, this is what you need. And you can do oil or melted butter. Don't use too much honey or salt because that will affect the sourdough. So try to stick to that. Don't go too much over. And then for the very ending, you can do egg wash seeds, jalapeños, cheddar. Okay, so here's my ingredients. I use the dough hook. You can do it by hand if you want to, but I just make a lot of bread and this is a lot easier. Bread, this is what I use. You have to use unbleached flour because the bleach will affect the sourdough and it will not rise. Whatever oil you use, honey, raw local honey is best. I use red mint salt, and then my massive starter. You don't need that much, but I am making 12 loaves. So here we go. And with the starter, I'm not really doing it properly right now, but I don't really have a choice. It is very late and I have a lot, so I'm just hoping for the best here. But what you want is use a rubber band to mark it when you feed it. But so you feed it, and then when it bubbles up and it rises, you want it to be about double, and you want it to be very, very foamy and bubbly. Mine is very bubbly, or not really foamy because that's kind of too much water, but mine is a little too much water this time, but it's pretty hard to mess up. So that's the beauty about sourdough. Do it a half a dozen times and you will get the hang of it. It is super simple and easy, at least the way. So I poured my starter and I'm measuring out 2 cups because I'm making 2 loaves. But you want it to be this is a little too thin. You're not really gonna mess it up. But you do want it a little thicker, but I did not measure and I add a little too much water. But you want it to be like a thick pancake batter. Okay, so I put my cup of starter in there. Not 2 cups, 1 cup of starter. And then 2 cups of water. It has to be purified water because the chlorine will affect the natural yeast in it as well. So this is what I use. But filtered water cup of olive oil or melted butter or avocado oil, something like that. Okay, you want 1/4 cup of honey. I've learned that too much honey or any sweetener affects it. And so you don't want to do too much honey. So if you want to make a sweet honey roll, you're gonna have to experiment or just do like a glazed butter honey on top. Because it was very tasty, but it was very dense when I attempted to do that. So I'm sure there's a way to get it done. And then bread flour. You do not want to overdo the flour. So start out, if you are doubling it, you're going to do 6 cups. The last one, I just make it a little shy. And really it just depends how thick your starter is or how thin it is or whatever, because sometimes I've used almost 7 cups and sometimes I've used a shy 6 and it's on the verge of being too much. So don't overdo it because it will make it dense. You can add more, but you can't take away. But you also, I know people say knead it for 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know. I've personally, the less kneading with this, it seems like the better. Okay, let's hope I count right. Stir it up on a low, medium. Oh, and you need a tablespoon. If you're doing 2 loaves, you're doing a tablespoon of salt, or 1.5 for a single. Okay, it's been going for like about a minute. Oops. So it looks a little on the lumpy side, and it's just slightly sticky. I'm gonna scrape down the sides. Okay, so it was probably under 2 minutes. It's so dark in here. Sorry. If this is not a good quality video, just tell me and I'll redo it. Okay, it's looking a little, there's still some dry lumps. So I'm gonna, I put some avocado oil on this plate and then I kind of use just that as my cutting board. I'm gonna work it by hand for just a minute. I'm gonna leave the camera going because it's just nice seeing somebody do it. Get all this out that I can. Give me a little spray. Okay. Since there's lumps, I guess I should have mixed it maybe another minute or two. Oh yeah, that's working. I'm just squeezing it. I'm just squishing it, basically. Squishing it and rolling it up. I don't always do this. It just depends. I guess you could mix it for another minute and it's already looking good. You just want all the flour to be well incorporated in, but not overdoing it. So the texture is a little sticky, but you can still work with it. And it's not tough. Like, it's heavy, but it's very easy to pull apart. Okay, and then I have a bowl that I oiled. I normally just leave it in my mixing bowl because I typically make 2 at a time, but I'm making a lot of bread tonight for the farmer's market. So I try to save on dishes, but this time I am not. Okay. So I just kind of roll each side up as best as I can. And you kind of want to get it as tight as you can. And it's super sticky this time. You're going to have sometimes where it's really sticky and sometimes where it's not. I feel like the stickier it is, kind of the better. I feel like it's fluffier and whatnot. But that is what I do for day 1. I feed it in the afternoon. My schedule is typically feed it around 12 or 1 p.m. And then sometimes I even take it to work with me if I have to take it to work and feed it at work. You feed it 1-1-1 ratio, purified water, unbleached flour, and the starter. Mix it really good, and then when it's doubled in size, then you use it, make your dough, stick it in there. I use that as the topper, and then you let it set for whatever it would be, 10 to 14 hours. For me, it's normally between 12 and 13 hours of the first rise, depending on the temperature of the house. If it's really cold, sometimes 14 hours. Excuse me. But that is it for tonight, except for cleanup. And I'm going to make 10 more loaves.
Okay, so it's the second day. It has risen. Normally for me it takes like 12-ish hours, but this time for whatever reason it was ready at like the 11th hour. So you're just gonna have to watch it. The temperature of your house changes, how fast or slow it rises, and all of that. Okay, so I have a smooth cutting board because my countertops have like wood cracks in them. So I don't like my dough getting stuck down there. So I oil that, not a ton, just where it's totally covered. Get my hands oiled. All right, so I punch that down. I first am going to measure it because, did I grease that? Yes, I did. Because I'm selling them, so I want them to be equal. Okay, so yeah, it should fall out just like that. Pretty clean bowl. If it doesn't, keep experimenting. It won't take more than, oh, I just turned it off, a few times before you get the hang of it. And since I am making a double batch, I'm going to divide it. And you don't have to do this if you're not dividing it. So I have divided it. It is very soft, like light feeling, like it's kind of airy-ish, you know, very stretchy. So people do stretch and folds. I don't do that. I just roll it up like a burrito, like roll, 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 tuck, tuck, do it as tightly as you can, and just keep rolling it up so it looks like a little burrito, a little burrito, a little burrito with queso on top, okay? And then the bottom is not as pretty. You want it to be as tightly done as you can. All right, and then that's what it looks like. And then you're going to cover it with a damp towel. I use plastic wrap. I know it's bad, but it seals it and doesn't get any fuzzies or anything on it. So, and then you wait for your second rise, which will be like 2 to 4 hours. So you just have to watch it and get your time. Okay, this is the jalapeno section. If you're making jalapeno cheddar, I just dumped out my dough. I split it in half because I'm doubling it. So what you're going to do, if you're making jalapeno cheddar, just gonna do it like a pizza dough. Stretch it out as well as you can into like a rectangle. Okay, so stretch it out as well as you can. Now, if you're doing like a cinnamon bread or anything like this is what you would do, and you would sprinkle cinnamon, sugar, butter, raisins, whatever you're doing in it also. Then you just coat it with, I shred my cheddar because shredded, I use extra sharp. Use what you want, but if you shred it yourself, it just tastes better. There's no caking, preservative agents, all that stuff in it. And it tastes better. Like so. Like a pretty pizza. It would be a fluffy, amazing, ooh, if you just put it in like that with some seasonings or something on top of it. So good. Okay. Now, you're just gonna roll it up like a burrito. Gotta be gentler this time. Just tuck in the sides, roll, but you're still gonna try to roll as tightly as you can without pushing everything out. Kinda gotta roll and squeeze. Roll and squeeze. This side's getting bigger, so we're gonna smush this side in a little more and try to keep it as even as possible. All right, there's your little burrito. I'm gonna tuck in, tuck under the sides a little bit. Okay, then you're gonna put this in the pan, and then after you put it in the pan, you're gonna sprinkle on jalapeno and cheddar on top of it. All right, and this is how it looks when you are done. Just make it however you want. And then you're gonna cover it with plastic wrap or a damp towel, and then you're gonna let it sit for your second rise, which is 2 to 4 hours, and you want it to double in size. And just like the first one, you will want it to get very, very bubbly, but you just have to be careful that you don't let it over rise because it can fall in the oven and get dense. So just a little experimenting, try it a couple times, you'll get it down. It's not hard. And even if it falls, it's still delicious, even if it's dense. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half since I rose the first batch, and they are, so take off the plastic wrap, whatever you're using, very slowly, and you will see there are forming a little bit of bubbles. I think it's there we go. Bubbles on top. That one looks perfect. But then down here, so they are very, very close
You could bake them now. You could wait just a little bit longer. I preheated my oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and get them ready, and in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to put them in. So how I get them ready, you can use some type of really sharp thing. I just got this tool. Haven't got to use it yet, so this is my first try. Oh yeah. To do my slits. Scoring. That works pretty good. Let's go over that. Yeah. You can do designs if you want to. What have you? Okay, so after you score it, then you're going to do an egg wash on it. I better do it this way. Okay. Some people do really, really pretty. And you don't have to score it for yourself. It just helps it rise a little better. The bubbles, and not, like sometimes when I don't score it, it has a bubble here or there, whatever. It tastes just the same. It doesn't matter. So do your egg wash, thin layer everywhere. And then you can leave it as is, or you could top with sesame seeds, poppy seeds, anything like that. Some people use a everything seasoning, bagel seasoning. I've never tried it, but I've heard it's good. This is my last batch about to go in. This one was my 4th batch, but it's on the verge of being overproofed. Those are the beautiful bubbles that you want. The top there was a couple big bubbles here and over here that I just gently popped with my blade, but it is on the verge. It will be amazing, but if I let it go any longer, then it would fall. So it's a little jiggly when you jiggle it. This one and this one there are just not quite ready. They were my last batch that I made, so they're about 20-30 minutes apart. Lots of bubbles, I'm getting there, but if you can tell, those bubbles, there's some big ones at the bottom, but the bubbles there are a lot smaller and more condensed than these. Okay, so in the oven, you halfway through, a little more than halfway, about 3/4 through, you want to rotate your bread, and I'm about to do that, but you want it to be at 190 or a little over, but 190 is when the bread is done. You let it cool for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If you do it too less, if you're using glass like I am, I cannot get it to pop out right away. So I wait 20 to 25 minutes, and then I just slightly, all around. Okay, which I already did that, so all around, and then I stick my fingers up in the sides here, and then just kind of wiggle it back and forth, and it should come out very, very easily. If you let it stay in the pans too long, then it will get really, really moist and soggy, and it's not a good thing. So 20-25 minutes max. Put a timer on your phone. Really just watching it all and the timing of it all is really important. So is that everything? Let it cool. You're supposed to let it totally cool down for completely, which for me, I feel like it's about 3 hours for it to totally through and through cool down enough to put it in a bag, because it can change the texture of it or whatever. If it's just for you, just slice into it warm. It's the best thing ever. Put some Irish cream or homemade grass-fed butter or something like that on it, or drizzle some honey with some cinnamon, or butter it. Both ways is good. Jalapeno, cheddar. My favorite is like thickly, is that a word? Put a thick spread of butter on both sides, put it on the cast iron until they're like really brown and crispy, and then put a
fried egg or some avocado and a fried egg on top of that. Whoo, it's so good. Salt and pepper, some chives. It is the best breakfast, especially with the jalapeno bread, but this is very good too. So many ways to use it, but let it cool. 20 minutes, pop it out, and then let it do a complete cooling for 3 or so hours before you seal it up. And just make sure there's no steam in the bag. If there's steam in your container or bag or whatever you're doing, then it's not cooled down enough. And when you are cooling it, it needs to be on a cooling rack, but just flat on the counter is not high enough where the steam will still soak into here and it will still get soggy. So you want to put it on some pretty good size, these are jelly jars, to have lots of heat circulation through here where there's no heat just, you know, sticking around. And then it lasts about, the regular lasts roughly 12 days or so before it starts to get, like, after the first several days, it's not like super fresh, and then we normally toast it. But sourdough is different. Like, mine doesn't mold. Now the jalapeno cheddar, I feel like it's after maybe 5 days or so it starts to mold. So that does need to be used up faster. But let's see, cooling brown. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is everything. And